and start the other presentation. I won't make you watch me make faces at my computer while I do this part. And we have just a few more seconds before the hour, and I hear people still coming in. Luckily, Pina is my assistant today and will be managing the room for me. So there, you've got your video on. I'll go ahead and kick mine on too. So you aren't just looking at a black box here. You can see us a little bit anyway. The lighting's not great in this room, but that's all right. So we'll give everybody just a few more minutes to come in.
Nou, laten we even wat zien dan.
Dan weet ik niet. Ja, is dat leuk?
Die is wel leuk, ja. En wat was die? Dat is die erg voor zien dan?
Ja.
Marco, you've got your audio on.
All right, so we're right on time to start. So I'm going to go ahead and get started here. So welcome. I'm going to talk to you about our Master in Medical Informatics and here at the UVA. And my name is Stephanie Medlock. Everybody calls me Ace. You'll notice by my accent that I'm American, didn't originally come from the Netherlands. I was actually originally a veterinarian when I was my first role in life. I worked for 6 years at a clinic in Seattle. But then I had the opportunity to come to Europe and found out about this interesting master's program and this thing called Medical Informatics, and decided to give that a try. And that got a little bit out of hand and turned into a PhD project, which in turn got a little bit out of hand and turned into a postdoctoral position. That's what happens when your research asks more questions than it actually answers. And I actually came in via the pre-master program, which I'll tell you about. So I've done all of the steps in entering the program that I'm going to talk to you about today. It's been a little while now, so a few of the steps have changed, but the basic process is the same. So I'll start by answering the question that my parents asked when they first found out what it was I was planning to do, and that is, so what is medical informatics? And on a good day, medical informatics is the happy marriage between computers and medicine. And what most people think of when the first thing they think about with medical informatics is you go to the doctor and somebody said, the desk says, what's your name? And they type into your name in a computer. And indeed, medical informatics does encompass that. So the software that's used to document patient flow and document the patient record. But it's also provides software and support for doctors as well, not just clerical tasks. And so one of the things is, what do you notice about this picture? Now, normally we have you sort of shout out answers, but that's not terribly convenient in this format. So I'll just have you look at the picture for a few minutes and think about what you see. So we've got an operating room, we've got a table, got a door, and we've got lots and lots and lots of screens. So everywhere in this room, there are medical applications running. There's software and hardware that falls into the domain of medical informatics. So these are all things that we do. But it's actually more than that. So increasingly, patients are becoming interested in taking an active role in their own medical decisions. And information for patients is also a big part of what we do. We also do some cool things with image and signal processing. These guys get the best graphics. My pictures never look this good. They're just tables, but these guys get really great pictures and do very cool stuff. We also work in quality indicators and quality improvement. And the NICE registry may be a name that you've heard quite a lot recently because they've had a big role in providing numbers to the RIVM to monitor the pandemic. So that's also something that we do, is helping to collect that data and process that data. Of course, data science in general is a big part of what we do as well, increasingly so. Also logistics, managing inventory and patient flow in the hospital, things like that. Also healthcare policy and management is also a part of our field. Telemedicine, of course, it's gotten a lot of attention recently as well. Evidence-based medicine as well is an important part of what we do. Now, you might think, wait a minute, isn't evidence-based medicine the doctor's responsibility? Isn't that something they have to worry about? And they do, but it's really become impossible for them to do it alone. So they estimate that about 2 million facts are required to become an internal medicine specialist. And there's about 5,000 research articles published every day. And that number doubles every 19 years. So that means that the average doctor would need to read about 20 papers a day, which I like to read, but I don't like to read 20 scientific papers a day. And the average practitioner doesn't either. Now, you'll notice that this study is actually a bit old, that's going on 19 years old now. And I always like to check these things and see if a prediction like this is true. And it turns out, actually, it's pretty close. So this 2001 was the year the study was published. There are about 14 million. Yeah, 14 million articles in PubMed at that time. And now there's about 30 million, so about twice as many. This was in 2018 is the last number that they counted. And so actually it's more than doubled. So that prediction was correct. And so this can lead to information overload. There's too much information for any human being to process, much less a clinician who's trying to take care of his patient in the process of handling all this information. And a lot of times the information that you want is still in dead tree form, is still in journals and magazines that are not readily indexed. We have search engines and things now, but it's still not that easy to find that information. So what if we could offer the right information to the right person at the right place at the right time to help them make medical decisions, just exactly what they need when they need it? Well, that's what we do in my field. That's what we call clinical decision support, and that's what we aspire to. But that's not the only thing we do. There's a lot of things that we do in our department and in the field of medical informatics. This is a word cloud of the studies published in the last year from our department. So you can see we do usability, evaluation, implementation, registration, quality, lots of things involved in our field. So just to give you some examples, I already mentioned the NICE registry, and we also have a international renal registry, kidney diseases, located in our department, and do some very interesting work monitoring the state of care for renal patients in all of Europe and really at this point all the world. We also have a perinatal registry, which also gets really great pictures. That's always good fun. Electronic health records is another major area of study. We did a major implementation in our hospital a few years ago, which was quite interesting to observe, and we got to learn a lot from that. We do a lot of with prediction models and machine learning in our department. So we create models for doing things like correcting for mortality. So for example, at a hospital that sees very high risk patients, you would expect a much higher mortality than a hospital that sees low risk patients, but deciding how high is that risk is a tricky problem. So that's the sort of prediction models that are made in our department. Usability in mHealth is another big area. So if this sounds interesting to you, you just might be a medical informatician. So what do we teach at the AMC? What will you learn if you come join us? Well, so I've got a little video here, and we're going to see if I can get the video to work. So I'll just take a minute to see if I can make it work. So I'm going to stop sharing this. And start the video. And I'm going to try to share the video. We'll see if this works. So I'm going to play it, and Pin, you tell me if you hear sound.
I'll do. I don't hear anything.
You don't?
No, I don't.
Rats. All right, so the video is not going to work. Too bad. We'll go back to sharing the presentation. But there's a very nice video that has some students talking about our program and telling all the wonderful things about being in the AMC. But I'll have to find you a link and send it later. So in our curriculum, we have looks something like this. So you start out with the first year in regular, oops, one wrong button. In regular classes where you have the basically 4 months of courses where you take a new course every month. And then there's an internship of 1 month, and then there's Christmas break. Or no, Christmas break comes between the internship. And then there's, you start with 4 more courses where you have basically regular classroom courses, and then another internship. And then you go into year 2, and year 2 starts with 4 electives. So you have 2 electives full-time, and then 2 electives which you share part-time with the scientific research project. And then the last half year is focused on your scientific research project. So that's a 7-month project. The first semester is considered to be the data science track. So this really focuses on research and data analysis and that sort of thing. The second half, the second semester, is considered the healthcare management track. So that really focuses on the management aspects. And throughout both, you have the academic skills line. So throughout both, you'll get exercises and advice on how to do things like write scientific papers and create presentations that are effective at communication and that sort of thing. So that's in a nutshell what it looks like. And Pien will give you some more details on exactly what those classes entail. But first, I want to give you a little bit of information about those internships in the scientific research project. Now, these are very flexible. You can really choose what you want to focus on during this time. And there's lots of topics that students have done in the past. So an internship that was done in our department, or a research project rather, scientific research project that was done in our department, was basically building a support system for patients to get medication advice by entering their own medications and testing whether or not they could successfully enter their own medications. And actually it worked pretty well. They got it mostly right, which was pretty cool. Then there's also sometimes internships and SRPs in other departments in the hospital. So this is one done with the Department of Biomedical Engineering and Physics, looking at natural language processing. Sometimes you do scientific research projects with companies as well. So this one, the students did a research project at Chipsoft, redesigning an interface for one of their systems. And sometimes you get to go a little further. Now, this year, not so many, but hopefully next year, again, students will be able to do a little bit of traveling as part of their research. And the student went all the way to Shanghai to work on a multimorbidity model. So this is very much a research master. So it's many of your teachers are researchers. It shows up in our courses in the way we think, the way we approach problems. So it is one of the things you will certainly learn how to do is to do research. So a question we get quite a lot is, so what do your graduates do? What do people do after they finish this program? And being researchers, we have asked students in a survey to answer this question. Now, the survey was done a few years ago at this point, and not everyone responded to the survey, so there could be a response bias. But of the people that answered, we asked them, so how many months did you search for a job? And most of them said, well, I had a job offer by the time I graduated. And very few had to wait more than 6 months for an offer. We asked people where do you work? Now these slides are partly in Dutch, but you'll figure it out. We asked where do you work? Most of them were working for someone. Some of them had started their own company, and some of them were doing flex work. We asked them what domain they worked in, and the majority were in some sort of healthcare related ICT. About 25% did go on to do some sort of research, and then the rest were in either some other ICT or had gone into healthcare. And we asked them, what is your function? And this list actually goes on for about 3 pages, but I've pulled out the most common answers. So we have quite a few that became consultants, quite a few that became researchers, project managers, process analysts, software developers, managers of various sorts, and so on. There are many possibilities for what people do with this education. So in summary, medical informatics combines IT, healthcare, organizational research. It has very good career perspectives. We believe it is a prestigious and inspiring faculty. That's us. And it is a small scale study. So we instructors are quite approachable. Normally you can just drop by our office. Again, not so much now, but you can just drop an email and you'll get an answer from a real live person. And of course it's in Amsterdam, which is cool. So now Peen's going to tell you about her perspective.
Yes, I'm going to tell you something. Yeah, you can go to the next slide, then I will tell something about myself. Well, I'm Pien van Putten. I'm 23 years old, and I did the bachelor Medische Informatiekunde. So that's like the bachelor, the bachelor version of medical informatics. And now I'm a first year master. I almost done with my first year because I started in February. Nice to know you can start in February and September. And I thought that was one of the already really nice things about this master, because you're more flexible. If you want to do, you have to do something. If you have to do pre-master, that's then even more nice for you. You have more flexible things. Yeah, you can go to the next. While studying at now it's Amsterdam UMC and then location AMC. It's one of the largest hospitals in the Netherlands, and well, when you go there for the first time, it's like, oh well, it looked like a maze, but slowly but steady, I know my way around now. And I really do like having a study in the AMC, because you are really seeing what you're doing. You have projects relating to the hospital. For the bachelor in my first year, I did make a project for one part of the hospital, and now they still use that. Obviously with real people who programmed it, but it was our idea with our group, and now it's in use. So I think that's one of the good things about studying at a hospital. You just are working on the work floor, as they say. And so these are a few pictures. On the top right corner, you see the AMC, the outside. Then the middle picture on the left is the bar. We have also a bar in the hospital. It will be relocated because the bar is now between 2 lecture halls. However, it will be relocated on the area of the AMC. But if there's no coronavirus anymore, every Thursday from 4:30 till 10:30, there is a bar, and beer is only €1.30. If you're not 18, you shouldn't be drinking, but if you do, it's really cheap, it's really nice, and it's really nice that people meet there, and it's also early over, so that's good. And on the bottom right, you see like most of the classroom we are working in, because we're not that big of a group, so mostly we'll work in those little like school rooms. It feels a little bit like high school again. Sometimes you're in the lecture halls, depends on if you have a lecture or practical. Well, besides studying, I'm doing a lot, so don't take really, I do more than most students, but I like to be busy. This time I have a part-time job at NICE, that's National Intensive Care Evaluation. And this time it's particularly interesting because I work with COVID data as well. And some of the data you see every day of how many people there are in the IC, it comes from our organization. That organization is settled in the AMC, so if you want to take a look at it or maybe want to do an internship there, they always have 2 little hands, so you're always welcome. Then I also am a part-time job as a project manager at SMELT. That's why I'm working here. It's not my room, it's SMELT, and it's a recruitment center for healthcare and technology. And I lead a group from people in Netherlands and Belgium. And that's also what Ace told you, that the second half year, if you start in September, is more about business related. So that is why they hired me. So already now, even though I'm still studying, I'm a project manager for multiple countries. So that will show you that you will definitely have a job at the end of your study. And it gives you a really good view of your future job, because when you do little jobs or just like side jobs, when you're studying, you can have a look at what you really like. Do you want more programming jobs or more business jobs? I think that's, for me now, I really know what I want to do due to those part-time jobs. Then I'm also in the student council at the faculty. I really like to be working on a lot of things and working at better education. So if a few of you are starting in February, then you can always contact me if there's something wrong with the course or whatever. And yes, there is also time for social life. However, you have to do a lot of things at home, but I do you have lectures on Mondays and Fridays, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday you have to work on your own. I do like that because I can just work whenever I want, in the evenings or the mornings. So, but there's time enough to do work, sports, or anything you want to do. Yeah, you can go to the next one. Yes. Well, this is just a picture of the September class. The blue arrow, that's me. You can't really see me, but you can see me here. As you can see, it's not a really big group. However, this isn't all the people, because it was in the COVID times, and a few people had to travel a long way, and they said, I'd rather be safe than sorry. But this is the new lecture hall. And this one is really nice because some of the chairs can turn. You can really work in practical. So this is the lecture hall that you will be working in a lot. I hoped I will be working there a lot, but I had one lecture there and then COVID came again. So, but this is all new. So that's for you, maybe an extra point to go to medical informatics. And well, the structure of the master is you have short course of 4 weeks. And you have weekly assignments, or most you have weekly assignments, presentations, and you have only 2 exams. I prefer that because I think in a master you'll have to work together more in like a work environment. Yeah, you can go to the next one. And what I told you before, on Monday and on Friday you have the lectures, and yeah, mostly on Monday the introductions and explanation of the assignments. Then on Tuesday to Thursday, you have to work on assignments, and on Friday, the deadline and present results. So on Monday, I started with a new course, the 4th course of the year, which is ACE is the coordinator. And then Monday, we had the introduction, had deadlines for today. And tomorrow, we have more explanation about the deadlines we handed in yesterday or today. So that's most of the time, this is the structure. With the last 2 courses, that's more programming and R. Then you have on Wednesdays practicals. They aren't mandatory, but I would recommend going to them because the teachers then can help you with the assignment. Well, as you can see here, this is the first block. If you start in February, this is the first in September, then this is the structure. As you can see, on Monday you have lecture, then you have the whole week free, and then for your own time, and then on Friday again. And then sometimes on Wednesday something extra, but that depends on the course. So I'm going to tell you something more about the specifics of the courses. Well, first, research methods in medicine and medical informatics. This is a really nice course to start up with. I didn't start with this course, but it is more of an introduction course than when you start in February. You're going to look at different kind of papers. What kind of papers are there? How do you recognize them? And especially medical and medical informatics research. And then look at study designs. It's really nice because I think with most of the bachelors you have already had this, so this is a good introduction. However, it's more specified on medical and ME research. Then you have fundamentals of data science and medicine, and then you're going to program in R. Don't be scared. I'm not a programmer myself. Before I started the bachelor, I could open Google and think that was my knowledge of programming. However, R is really user-friendly. It's more statistical method, more like SPSS than really like Java. And you'll learn about regression, sequence mining, clustering, and classification. Each assignment is more difficult, so the first one is easier than the 4th one. So it is more the programming, and you can do it in pairs or alone or in pairs. I would recommend doing it in pairs because then with the practicals are at the AMC and then you can work together. With the COVID times, it was really difficult because you have to share the screen and stuff like that. But I think everyone can do it, even if you're not used to programming like me. And then this is like the follow-up course. It's like the same structure, 4 assignments. The first one is the least difficult, and the fourth one is the most difficult. Also programming in R. So I think these 2 courses are 2 different courses, but it feels like one course because you're kind of doing the same, only more difficult. And as you can see, you're more looking at maximum likelihood theory, the Bayesian method, bootstrapping, and multi-level analysis. I just finished this. It was more difficult. However, I still got good grades because the teacher, Koos, he is really helpful, and obviously most of the teachers are really helpful because at the masters, if you're not getting A's, that's fine. It's just, you have to understand what you're doing. So that's again a little bit more R. Then the next course, I just started Monday. So Ace, please tell me if I'm saying something wrong. We're doing data-driven decision-making and evaluation in medicine. So I just had the first week, and we're looking at decision support, medical decision-making, and information modeling and terminology systems. So how can decision-making or medical decision-making help you in practice? So because sometimes being a doctor is really emotional or ethical, but with decision-making, you make it less ethical, and the system makes decisions for you. However, there are obviously pros and cons. So I think if I look at ACE, I think that's what you're looking at this course, that you take a look at the decision making in medicine, and
Indeed,
then with 3
so.
different issues.
Yeah, look at ways that how people actually make decisions, how they sometimes make wrong decisions, and how we can help.
Exactly. Yeah. Because that's also, I will say that slightly, that sometimes I love my friends are studying medicine and they say, oh, you just want to steal our jobs. Like, no, we're not want to steal it. I want to make your jobs easier, because we're all human. We'll make mistakes. We all forget things. But I think with decision making or with some alerts, you can just help the doctor to make less mistakes and do their job better. Then their internship, it's 4 weeks, and you have to write a research paper. So what you want, that you can do as broad as you can. If you really want to program, you can do that. But if you want to do a qualitative study as well, I did a combined internship, so that's 4 weeks after each other. So you could, that's really broad. You can do it at the AMC, you can do it at a company. So I would suggest just to start the first 2 courses and have a look, what do you like? Maybe with your first, with your other bachelor, you can have a look at what you want. And it's just an internship with a research paper, and it's 4 weeks for like 40 hours a week. So like really a work week. So and so now I think for now it will be mostly at home, and maybe for you guys it will be at the company, because I think that's nicer. Then the biomedical information system engineering, then you have a lot of literature and programming, and how can we assess a suitability of technology. So we have a lot of technology. How do we make sure that is integrated in the software? Because you have software, hardware, and how can you combine those things without being an overload of information, what Ace already told before. Then organizational setting of healthcare. I really enjoyed this course because you know about doctors, maybe the ICT department, and now us, but where do we fit in, and how can we make sure that the different structures, we can help each other and maybe strategize. And you also have to write a business, I think in this course you have to write a business case, and you have to write it to every group, had to write to another part of the organization. So some to the patients, some to the board. So I think that's really nice, because then you have a better understanding of where you will stand later, and maybe how you have to write differently to a patient and to the board. Oh yeah, the screen is good now. Yeah. Then healthcare logistics. Then you have to apply logistics to healthcare with mathematical models and applications to hospitals. This is the course with the exam. I only had 1 exam in the whole year due to Corona, so I'm not 100% sure which other course has the exam. Yeah, so there are 2 exams, but because due to COVID, they changed it to an assignment. But this course has an exam, and it's a math exam. I did Wiskunde A, Math A in the Netherlands, and I could do it. It was difficult, but it is doable. Again, the teacher is really nice. It helps you a lot, and you do. So you have an exam at the end, but you also do practicals in groups of 2 about how you make ER as efficient as possible. So you really get data from real data obviously anonymized, but then you have to work with a mathematical program to make sure that the ER is as efficient as possible. So I thought it's really cool that you really are doing something that people can use in the hospital. And then healthcare management, that was, then you talk more about the management, and this time it was a bit more about environment. So how in combination with the management of healthcare, we can have a better environment. However, because the hospital is contributing a lot to the more climate change. So in combination with that, we are looking at which parts of the organization and a management strategist can change for a better environment. And again, you have a project here. So again, you work in groups and you write something about a certain subject you get from a teacher. And then again, a short internship. And then you have the presentation and a management report. Again, I did this combined, but it's totally up to you. And again, you can choose at whatever you like. The only criteria is it has to be a research thing, but you can do it at it's really broad. And I don't know anyone who couldn't do their internship. So think outside the box. You don't have to be at the hospital. You don't have to be at a software engineer. If you want something totally different, but a little bit to this, it's okay. Even if you want to do a business thing, it's most of the time it's okay. And then you have the electives. Then you have electives from the university itself, from the UvA. And you have electives you can choose yourself. I had to choose it myself because that's the one thing. If you start in February, you have to find electives for yourself. When you start in September, you can do the electives managed by the UvA. Then you have the artificial intelligence for health track with 4 subjects and the human factors for health. And so for AE is medical AE, machine learning and reasoning and health and quantified self. And with human factors and health is usability of medical information systems, health technology assessment, and in combination with the new eHealth lab. The eHealth lab is a lab where you can submit your own ID to be made. So if you have a fantastic idea about software or maybe something else, do the human factors on health track, because maybe we will be using your app in the next few years. More detail is a little bit difficult for me because I didn't do them, but you can find it on the website. Then a scientific research project, I still need to do that, but it's a 7-month research where you really want to research something. And again, you can do it as broad as you like. And at the end, you have to write a thesis. And that is, for most of us, the last thing you'll do in this master. So it's 7 months hard work, but then you're done with your masters. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm at the office, so somebody waved at me. No, and then you have academic skills. That is is parallel to all the courses, and you have writing and presenting. And the presenting is mostly the second part, it's more the business part, and the writing is the first part. Then you have to write a scientific article, opinion piece, and a management report. In total, I think for the whole master, it's 5 EC. So it's parallel. You have to do it, and most of the time everybody gets it. It's just that you learn also when you write, for example, business case, maybe the grammar must be good, but also how you present such a business case to a board. How do people perceive that? And the same as with presenting, you have to present a pitch. And so you really learn it. If you have that idea in the eHealth lab, but you have to present it to the board, then you know how to pitch. So the master, why am I here? Why am I sitting and telling you why you should do this? Well, because it's an in-depth education, but it's also very broad, which I really enjoy because I'm not really pinned to one profession. I can do a lot of things in my future, which I really do like. And it's both theoretical and practical. You have to write a lot of things, but you have to know things as well. And I do really like the balance of that. And you have a lot of group work. However, your assignments you have to do individual. Again, the balance is for me perfect. And research and practice orientated. It depends on the course, but I think that's again a good thing about this master. The balance is good, and you can choose whatever you like. And technical and non-technical, you can choose, especially in the internships, you can do something really technical or not. And what I told you before, I'm not the most technical person ever, but I could do the programming fine. They take you step by step, so please don't be scared of that. And exams and practical assignments, mostly assignments, so take that in mind, and 2 exams, one of which is math exam. I prefer that, but you have to take a look at yourself if you'd like it. But I think it's better for the future as well, because in your future job, you not most likely have an exam at the end of the year. So yeah, I don't know if there's maybe questions for you from now this, maybe before I go say something else.
I think we're supposed to do questions at the very end, so we'll do
sorry.
questions at the very end.
Okay. My screen is green. Maybe it's my Wi-Fi. Oh yeah, my future job. Well, if I told you before, you can do a lot of things. I think I would like to be like more of a project manager or be like more in the corporate board, because I really like the overview. However, a good friend of mine really likes data science and thought, oh, I want to be programming and doing things with data. So that's why I said my future job with a question mark, because I don't know, because the options are so wide, and I even got some job offers already from a lot of different companies. So I think if you're not really sure what you want to do, but you want to be in this area of expertise, I would recommend it, because you have 2 more years to think, and you can, in the internships, you can see what you like or what you don't like.
Okay, great, thanks. So, okay, so if you're interested, you might know what you should do next, and so I'll tell you. So first of all, you'll need to send an application, and we evaluate those applications on basically 3 criteria. So we look at relevant background. So have you studied something that will give you enough of a background that you can understand what's going on in our master? Do you have academic skills? So that's can be good grades, or can be evidence of participation in teaching, or congresses or other academic activities. And that's because we are a research master, so you do need a high level of academic skills to succeed. And what is your motivation? Is this a good match between what you want and what we offer? And to help bridge the gap, we have a pre-master program. So we have people coming from all kinds of different backgrounds. Some people from veterinary medicine, as in my case, some people from computer science. And so anything that you need to make up, any gaps in your educational background, we can make up in the pre-master program. So that's what it's there for. If you happen to be a non-Dutch and also non-native English speaker, you will need to pass an English proficiency test. And there's no particular application deadline, but the pre-master does take a while. So please do allow 6 to 8 months for the application to process and to get through the pre-master. So what you'll need to do is send an email. You can send an email to the pre-master MI at either amc.uva.nl or amsterdamumc.nl. Goes to the same place. Then once you've sent that email, or you can just directly mail your application. And there's instructions, but if you email here, we'll give you instructions for also sending an email copy of your application, which right now is important because sometimes we cannot come to the AMC due to the coronavirus. And so if you email your application as well, then we get it right away, as opposed to whenever somebody actually unlocks the door in the mailroom. So then your application is evaluated, and that can take anywhere from 2 to 12 weeks, depending on if your diplomas are all Dutch. If you have any foreign diplomas, it takes longer, unfortunately. And then if you are admitted, there's an admission decision that happens here. Then we determine which pre-master courses you'll need to take. So which of those classes you'll need to make up to fill in the gaps. Then you need to sign a contract and pay the fee for the pre-master. The fee for the pre-master is 40 euros per EC, by the way. You might want to know that. And then you need to take the pre-master. So that's 48 months of studying. And that is mostly studying on your own, just as a forewarning. Some people do find that a bit lonely. I enjoyed it. I liked it, but maybe I'm unusual. And then once you pass the pre-master, you get to enroll. So that's the process. So the pre-master is a maximum of 26 EC. Now, basically, nobody takes all 26 EC because we expect you to have some relevant background. So usually you take about 20 EC. My colleague Eric is the coordinator. I'm the coordinator for international students, so I'm one of the ones that will answer the emails when they come in. It is mostly self-study. There's a few video lectures, but there's mostly book reading. And the exams are held in the AMC once per month, except if for international students and except for during the pandemic, which case they're held online. You can contact the lecturer, so the instructor for the course you can contact by email, and they usually will answer pretty quickly, so it's not like you're completely on your own. You can ask questions. And then when you're done with it, you get an admission certificate. That admission certificate is good for up to a couple of years, so you can take your time in coming into the master if you need to arrange financing or anything like that. The pre-master is about 6 months of full-time study, 4 to 6 months, so don't underestimate that. It's a hurdle to cross, but it also gives you a really good background in the field. And when you have finished it, you feel like you're really ready to come in and join the master. So this is a list of the topics covered. I think it's also really interesting just in and of itself, especially the medical images is really cool. But there's a lot of nice things that we cover here as well. And I'll leave it up there for a second for you to read it. I won't read it out to you. And so here's all the email addresses and contact information and places to go for more information. And this is the point where we get to ask any questions. You can just unmute and shout out a question. If we have too many people talking at once, we'll deal with that. But for right now, you can just unmute and say something.
I have a question.
Mhm.
So does everybody need to take the pre-master program that didn't do the bachelor? I don't know what it was called again.
Medical
But
Informatics,
that
yeah.
didn't do the specific bachelor?
Basically, yes. So, so we do evaluate it on a case-by-case basis, and we have occasionally had students that did a medical informatics bachelor in another country and get an exemption for almost every pre-master course. But it's pretty rare that you've taken all of the courses in the pre-master as part of your previous study or as online courses or things like that. And so almost everybody has to take at least some. And as I said, I think it's really worthwhile to do because you do get a very good background in the field already in a very short period of time.
Okay. And are you not a student then because you have to sign a contract and pay different fees, or how does that work?
It is not officially, it's not an accredited study. So it is a study, but it's not an accredited study. So for study financing purposes, it does not count as study. So that's important to keep in mind when you're considering that.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah, it counts as a preparatory year is the official term for it. It's considered a preparatory program.
Hi, so I also wondered, are there also other programming languages involved besides R, like maybe Python or C, or is this something you can like coordinate yourself maybe in the internships?
Yeah, so certainly you can coordinate that yourself in the internships. There is some Python programming that is involved at some point. I'm not actually 100% sure where, but there is some Python programming that's involved. And there's also, in my module, we do a little bit of programming in a language called Arden Syntax, which is a language that's specifically for decision support systems. So it's a domain-specific language. It's similar to Lisp, if you happen to know Lisp. But the in the internships, it's not uncommon that somebody has a internship that involves programming. There's not always one available, but there usually is one. And I have 3 students who will be doing an internship with me in January, doing some programming in Java, just to give you an example.
Okay, that's really nice to hear. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Hi,
Any other questions?
I'm a medical student, but are there more medical students who join this master?
There are some, yeah. So we have, I believe, 2 students who came from a Bachelor of Medicine in our current group. And we often have about that many, 2 or 3. There's another, usually 4 or 5 people that came from some other health related, like there's one that's health and movement science, and some other ones that are not medicine per se, but they're a medical background.
Yeah, we have now 3 students of medicine and even one that's kooschappen. So I think, and they can come by quite well. So every year there are a few.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
Are there also people with a biomedical sciences background?
So I don't actually remember if we've got anybody right now, but yes, that is something that we get that does come into our program from time to time. So and sort of address the general question that's being implied here. So if we often get people coming in with a strong background in medicine topics or about strong background in computer science topics, but there's a lot of things that are sort of floating around the edges of medical informatics. So they're not medicine, they're not computer science, but for example, someone who has an education in hospital management, certainly a relevant background. Statistics is also a relevant background. So we do look at it fairly holistically, and we really look very closely at what courses have you taken, and what knowledge have you probably gained in that process, and are you going to have enough background to succeed in the master, or are you going to be a little bit lost? And we certainly don't want to invite anyone in who's not unlikely to succeed, and that's basically what we look for.
So I see on the slide, do a trial day. What is that?
Well, so normally what that means is that you get to come and sit in on our classes for a day. I have no idea what that means right at the moment. But if you contact Study Voorlichting, they can tell you. Perhaps you come and join our Zoom room. I really don't know. But I'm sure that they can come up with something.
Okay, so I can just send them an email basically and ask maybe what the options are.
Exactly. And they may say, well, let's wait a couple of months and see if a vaccine comes out. But they might well just be able to send you a Zoom link. And that would certainly be fine with me as a teacher. So.
All right, I think I'll try that. Also,
Yep.
Just to check if I have understood it correctly, but let's say if I apply like now for this master, and I think I have to do a pre-master because I have a computer science background.
Correct.
Then is it okay like that I do 1 year for my pre-masters and then just apply September next year?
Yep. Yep. That should work out fine. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's great to know. All right.
Yeah. Sending in your application now is in good time for starting next September. So that's a good way to do it.
All right. Thanks.
Can you understand me?
Yes.
You said that for the admission for the master's program, you look at courses taken per case. Do you also look at like the portfolio of a student? Say he hasn't had taken courses in something like R or statistics, but has a broad portfolio on that subject. Do you look at that?
Yep, we certainly do. And so whether you still have to take a pre-master course in that topic is up to the individual instructor. So we have 10 pre-master courses, 10 instructors, and they decide, actually a few more than 10. They decide individually whether you need to take their course or not. And some of them say, oh, you've had a lot of experience, that's fine. You don't need to take the course. Some of them are like, nope, if you haven't had a university course, you need to take my class. And so it depends on the individual. But in terms of considering it for relevant background, we definitely consider your experience and things that you've done outside of school.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? They say you're supposed to wait 8 seconds, so I'm going to wait a couple more seconds before I decide that there are no more questions. All right, I think that sounds like it. So as promised, I'm going to stop the recording and you'll have the chance to ask questions not on camera.